Innova, the industry leader in diagnostic tools and equipment for the past 30 years, is now offering Repair Solutions, an incredible online service aimed to help you diagnose, repair, and maintain your vehicle. Premium members on Repair Solutions will have access to verified fixes provided by actual factory-trained technicians, step-by-step instructions to help guide you through the repair process, and even how-to videos to demonstrate each repair. For more information, please visit us at Innova.com.
Today we're going to be changing the thermostat and gasket. This is a quick, simple solution to a lot of your heating and cooling problems. Today's service vehicle is a 1995 Chevrolet 5.7 liter Suburban. What we're going to do is we're going to change the thermostat and the gasket, which is located at the end of the upper radiator hose connected to the intake manifold. But first what we're going to do is we're going to disconnect our battery. Now that we have our battery disconnected, we're going to loosen up our radiator cap. It doesn't need to come completely off. Just loosen it up so when we go to drain it, it can actually drain. By not loosening this up, it's going to hold the pressure in the radiator. Now what we're going to do is we're going to locate our petcock, which is on the bottom side of the radiator, on the lower driver's side corner. So what we're going to do is we're going to locate our radiator petcock, and it looks like it's right there. And it looks like it's about a 3/4 inch size. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn this, and that's going to be a plunger. We're going to release it, the necessary amount of water that we need to get the coolant level below our intake. Now we don't really need to drain very much of this coolant down. Maybe a gallon, gallon and a half will be sufficient. Once we've drained our fluids to the proper level, what we want to do is we want to close our radiator petcock, make sure it's good and tight. And then what we want to do is we want to leave this container underneath there because there's a lot of times where there's extra coolant that will run inside other areas like the core support and some other fender wells. And you always want to remember to properly dispose of the antifreeze. Our thermostat is located in the thermostat housing, which is right in this area down low. You can see that we have 2 bolts and we have some electrical connections. We're really going to want to pay attention not to break these electrical connections because they go to our coolant temp sensor. So first what we're going to do is we're going to remove our radiator hose. And we're just going to lift that up and we're going to wiggle this off. We're going to move this out of our way. You want to make sure this is up so no residual coolant goes onto our floor. So our thermostat is located inside the thermostat housing. We have 1 bolt, it looks like a nut, and another bolt. What we want to do is we really want to make sure not to break these connections. These are the ground connections for our coolant temp sensor. So let's go. What we're going to do is we're going to try to break this one first. You want to see if these wires are loose and they're going to come off. You want to make sure that when we replace them back on there, that they're nice and clean. You can see that these are green in color, and we're going to want to clean those up prior to reinstallation. Now that we removed our electrical connections from our stud, we're going to loosen these up. And now you can see that our thermostat housing is free. And again, we're going to want to remember to replace this when we go back to connect everything together. So we're just going to lift up our thermostat housing, check the condition. We're going to remove our thermostat. You want to notice how it came out. This always goes towards the top, the flow to the engine. Prior to installing our new thermostat, what we're going to do is we're going to clean the gasket area and surface. We want to make sure there's no debris in this area. We want to check to make sure that our replacement gasket is relatively the same as our old one. We're also going to make sure that our old thermostat and our replacement thermostat are the same in diameter. We're going to check the front and the back and the top. We're also going to check for its fit inside its surface. And we're also going to check the fit with our old one. About the same. Make sure the point goes towards the radiator. So we're just going to set this down. We're going to install our replacement gasket. Make sure it's dry, free of debris. We're going to inspect our housing. Make sure that it's clean. And make sure that our surface, where our gasket is clean. We're going to install that right on top of there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that our connections for our temperature sender are clean and free of debris. We want to make sure that the connections are good and they're not brittle or broken. We're going to reinstall these. Now what we're going to do is we're going to secure our ground wires, and we want to make sure not to over tighten these. We want to hold them so they don't turn while you're turning the nut. We're going to reinstall our radiator hose. We're just going to take this, we're going to give it a little wiggle on. Make sure it gets down past the little rib in the thermostat housing, and we're going to secure it. What we're going to do is we're going to check leaks at this connection, our thermostat housing connection, and our radiator petcock connection to make sure we don't have any leaks after we fill our radiator. So let's fill the radiator and we'll go back to these areas and check for leaks. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove our radiator cap, give it a slight push, and turn, remove, set it to the side. What we're going to do is we're going to add our coolant and top it off. Now you notice this is like an orangey red color. There's also a green color. If you took green out, you want to replace it with green. If you've taken the red out, you want to replace it with red. The two are not compatible with each other for proper cooling. Since we've already had our radiator hose off and our thermostat housing out, we may have to fill this a couple times to get it to the proper operating level. After we run it, we will check it again. We want to be able to make sure that this is full and our reservoir is at the proper level also. Now what we're going to do is we're going to check our coolant level in our overflow bottle, which it looks like it's almost proper level there. We're just going to add a little bit. We're going to secure our coolant tank lid, make sure it's properly on, and we're going to wipe up the residual mess. Now what we're going to do is we're going to install our radiator cap. We're going to line up the marks on the radiator and the cap. We're going to press it down and turn it clockwise and make sure it's secure. We're going to connect our battery. We're going to start our vehicle, bring it up to operating temperature, and check for leaks. Now that we brought our engine up to operating temperature, we're going to check for coolant leaks around our radiator hose and our thermostat base. Everything looks great. After the engine cools, what we're going to do is we're going to check our radiator again, and everything should be fine.
Visit us at Innova.com and subscribe to Repair Solution Services.